My wealthy parents could never have imagined that in order to prevent them from finding me, I even canceled my ID card and went to the police station to cancel my account, and then joined the 5-year closed research artificial satellites. When my parents first found me, I had lived in an orphanage for 18 years. I thought I could have a home after returning, but I didn't expect to see Master Gia kneeling on the ground and crying as soon as I got home. Goodbye, Mom and Dad. Thank you for your upbringing. My brother is back, and this family no longer needs me. My parents hugged him distressed. What nonsense are you talking about? We only have you as our biological son in this life. My fiancé also confessed to him affectionately. No matter who you are, I only have you in my heart. They circled around Master Gia. When I was dying in a car accident, they were busy celebrating the birthday of Master Gia's dog. On the day I was discharged from the hospital after the car accident, I signed a confidentiality research agreement in the hospital. The staff of the space agency shook my hand excitedly. Welcome to join us. I remind you again that this research project is confidential and you cannot mention a word to anyone. The 5 years of participating in the research will also be completely closed and you will not be able to contact the outside world. He gave me 3 days to say goodbye to my family, but I laughed at myself and said, I am an orphan and have no family. After completing the discharge procedures alone, I returned home and saw that my parents' eyes were heavy. Mom suppressed her anger and said, Johan, where have you been? You haven't been home for 3 months. Your brother waited for you for half a night just to celebrate your birthday with you, but you didn't come. Do you know how disappointed he is? Dad's eyes were golden hard, and he said without any emotion, I think he has become too arrogant and doesn't even listen to us. In this case, it's better to get out of this house as soon as possible. 3 months ago, I had a car accident and was in critical condition. The medical staff called them countless times, but they only got cold, busy tones. They didn't care about my life or death at all. But now they accused me of not going home to celebrate my brother's dog's birthday. I couldn't understand why I was treated worse than an adopted son when I was obviously their biological son. In the last few days, I didn't want to argue with them, Und answered calmly. Didn't you see I was busy? Dad slammed the table hard and was about to get angry with me, but Yaguda N came down the stairs slowly wearing the brand name clothes bought by my parents. He put on an understanding expression that my brother must be busy studying. After all, he has a doctorate degree and the scientific research tasks are always heavy. I just celebrated a small birthday for my pet. It's no big deal. Dad snorted coldly and said disapprovingly, what doctorate? It's useless. You don't even understand the principle of spending more time with your family. It's really a waste of time. It's better to drop out directly. I laughed silently and didn't say anything. I couldn't come back this time because Yaguda N asked his good buddy to hit me at the school gate. The heater fled on the spot and I fainted on the spot and was sent to the hospital. I woke up 3 months later. Just bear with it. I'll be leaving in a few days anyway. My mother was stunned and frowned, saying, Where are you going? Where else can you go after leaving home? She firmly believed that I had nowhere to go because before they took me back, I had been living alone in an orphanage with backward conditions. Iguda N had a smug smile on his face, but when he sat next to his parents, his face was already full of sadness. Brother probably doesn't want to appear where I am. I shouldn't occupy this position. I shall leave. He intentionally or unintentionally showed the Heat jade beads in his hand, and the excellent quality showed that the beads were very valuable. It was a family heirloom of the Yi family. When I was very young and had not yet lost, I remember my father said, Xiaohan, this bracelet only belongs to the future owner of our family. When you grow up, it will be yours. But now it appeared in Yaguda N's hand. Dad glanced at me and said in an unnatural way, This bracelet was asked for by Guda N, so I gave it to him. You are the elder brother. You should give way to your younger brother. Don't argue with him. I said calmly, It doesn't matter. Give it to whoever you want. I have heard similar words countless times. I will give everything that Yaguda N likes to him, and I have long been accustomed to it. Perhaps they didn't expect me to become so sensible, and they showed surprised expressions. Yaguda N said, I shouldn't take my brother's things, but I really like it. Everything in this house belongs to you. I just want this small bracelet. You don't mind, right? Mom sighed and touched his head. You are so sensible that it makes people feel distressed. Didn't we say that you are our only biological son? Yehuda N wiped away his tears, a grieved lie, which made his parents look more and more loving. The three of them loved each other, and for a while no one remembered my existence. It seemed that everyone had forgotten that Yehuda N was just a substitute adopted by his parents from the welfare home. In the 18 years since I left home, my parents transferred all my love to him in order to reduce their guilt for losing me. When Yehuda N snorted, they became nervous. When Yehuda N cried, their world was about to collapse. On the night I returned home, Yehuda N could not accept this fact. After crying for a while, he stood on the edge of the rooftop and shouted heartbreakingly, I have been abandoned. I am a child that no one wants. It is better to let me die so that my parents and brother can live together forever. They panicked instantly and hurriedly persuaded Yehuda N to come down from the rooftop and guarded him every step of the way. Dad and Mom coaxed him to eat with fruits and snacks, but I was so hungry that I was dizzy and no one looked at me. Later, they proposed to go on a picnic in the suburbs as if nothing happened and took me with them. I was flattered and followed them, but they left me alone in the deserted mountains without saying a word. In a place without signal, I survived in the wilderness for a whole week before returning home in tattered clothes, hungry and cold. They were watching TV with Yehuda N, and their eyes didn't even fall on me. We just want you to learn a lesson and know that this family will belong to your brother in the future. He has been with us for 18 years, and the relationship is much deeper than yours. You have to give in to him in everything and can't fight with him. Do you understand? I know. That day, I knew I had no home. When I packed my luggage and went downstairs in the morning, Yehuda N came to me with a bowl of wontons. He smiled and said, try the breakfast I made for you. I glanced at his hypocritical face and walked around him silently into the kitchen. But he suddenly slipped in the hot bowl of soup splashed directly on himself. When my parents heard the noise and came out, they saw that his hands were burned. They blamed him with heartache. Isn't there an auntie at home who is responsible for cooking? You don't know how to use fire. Why do you want to go into the kitchen? Yehuda N lowered his head and looked up at me after a while. My brother sent me a message last night asking me to cook for him. I was afraid of making him unhappy, so I didn't dare to refuse. I got up early in the morning to work. I was too stupid, so this happened. My heart sank. Just as I explained that I didn't do it, my father strode over and slapped me hard. Yehan, we can't see it. Is this how you bully your brother? Yehuda N lost his parents when he was young, never had a good day, and grew up in hunger and cold. You should double his compensation. A bastard who has no one to teach has extremely corrupt morals. Yehuda N pretended to be patient and said to his parents, don't treat my brother like this. It doesn't matter if his attitude is a little worse. I can endure it in order to stay with you. Seeing that the pot has been put on me, I am too lazy to say anything useless and turn to the kitchen to have breakfast. My father was about to be furious, but I saw Zhu Mingzhu hurriedly visiting. Zhu Mingzhu is my childhood sweetheart sister, my fiancée who was engaged to me since childhood, and we were as close as siblings. But now she saw that Yehuda N's finger was wrapped in gauze, and she immediately frowned and blamed. Yehan, did you hurt your brother again? Yehuda N pretended to be injured more than once, and he ran to her and his parents to cry every time. Zhu Mingzhu also developed a conditioned reflex to blame me for all his injuries. I just explained, it's not me, she burned herself. But Zhu Mingzhu didn't believe it at all. It must be because you told her to cook and you're still quibbling. Don't think I don't know what kind of person you are. You pretend to be a simple-minded nerd, but you are actually an ungrateful wolf. It's good that your uncle and aunt can take you home and take you in. Don't always try to destroy the relationship between Yehuda N and us. She bandaged Yehuda N's wound, then drove her sports car to the door and sent him to work. Even my parents drove a car and escorted him in person. And I walked into the kitchen alone and finished breakfast in the empty house. On the last day before leaving, I attended an academic exchange meeting with my supervisor, but I saw my parents with Yehuda N. Zhu Mingzhu stood beside him and held his arm. Dad proudly introduced Yi Guda to everyone at the meeting. This is my most beloved son. He's outstanding and has founded a technology company that will be listed soon. As soon as this was said, people around congratulated and praised Yi Guda for his promising future. However, someone said, I heard that you found a child who was missing before, but didn't bring him today. Hearing this, Dad's expression froze. Who told you that? It's pure rumor. Malden tried to smooth things over. She put her arm around Iguda shoulders. We only had one child. How could there be others? Maybe it was a relative who was staying at home and caused a misunderstanding. They tried their best to deny my existence, as if saying it would embarrass them. But I walked over with a windlass, and the family who were talking and laughing saw me. I worst on for a moment. Yeguda said in surprise, Brother, why are you here? Today's academic exchange conference is invitation only. Did you steal someone else's invitation? He spoke in a lower voice, as if he was very ashamed. Mom saw that I was a little embarrassed, but she knew she was in the wrong for hiding it from me. Yehan, don't make trouble. We brought Guda here today for a serious matter. His company has a patent that must be obtained. As soon as she finished speaking, she saw the instructor behind me and her eyes lit up immediately. Professor, we are very interested in your school's latest aerospace patent. Can you consider licensing it to our son's company? The instructor glanced at me and said, the inventor of that patent is Yi Han. You should ask for his consent. Iguda eyes were vicious, but he hid it well and said, disappointed lie, what should I do? My brother hates me so much that he will definitely not give me the patent. When my father heard this, his brows immediately twisted together. He pulled me to the side of the venue. Jahan, you immediately changed the inventor of that patent to Guda. As a brother, you have never given him a decent gift since childhood. Now Guda needs this patent, so you give it to him. It would be a waste to keep it anyway, and you can't do anything with it. I was almost laughing out of anger. What's the difference between this and direct robbery? So I said without thinking, if you want to use it, pay for it. It's impossible to give it away for free. My father pointed at me and was so angry that he couldn't say anything. My mother looked at me with deep disappointment in her eyes. Xiao Han, we are all family. Why you treat your brother like this? You sneaked into this meeting. Is it your purpose to force us to publicly recognize you as our son? I promise you, as long as you give him the patent, we will give you a status. I didn't expect them to be so dirty. I pulled the corner of my mouth. Do you think I really want to be a family with you? After saying that, I didn't give them a chance to react and turned around and left. When I walked out of the venue, I saw a red Ferrari parked outside the venue. Suddenly, I remembered that when I was a child, I thought this model of car was very cool, so I pestered my father to buy me a model. At that time, my father held me high above his head. Seeing that I loved it so much, he pointed to the real Ferrari in the garage and said with a smile, whatever you like, Dad will buy you. When you grow up and pass the driver's license test, I will personally buy you one. When I heard this, I hugged him and clapped my hands happily. At that time, I felt that my father was the person who loved me the most in the world, and he would never change. But I was missing for only 18 years, and the relatives who loved me were snatched away by an adopted son in the blink of an eye. I was unwilling, but I had to be willing. Yeguda followed me closely. Seeing me stop by the car, he deliberately touched the smooth body of the Ferrari and exclaimed, "It's so beautiful. I hope I can get such a gift on my birthday." When my father heard this, he took out his phone and called his assistant without thinking. Order 3 Ferraris for Sherwanjuan. Yeguda pretended to be embarrassed. Isn't it a bit too extravagant? Dad touched his head. Not many. You can drive whichever one you like. You don't have to wait until your birthday. As long as you are happy, I will give it to you. Yeguda immediately said excitedly thank you to his father. Seeming she helped my mother out from behind me. She rolled her eyes at me. What are you looking at? You don't think your uncle will buy it for you, do you? Don't be wishful thinking. You have never been a family member of ours, let alone replace him. Guda is unique in our hearts. They got in their private car and drove away, leaving me alone at the entrance of the venue. The cold wind was biting. I tightened my clothes and took a taxi home. All my belongings were thrown outside the door, scattered at the door like garbage. The maid said to me apologetically, "The master and the lady said that you should leave and never come back." I didn't rush into question, but just quietly packed up and left with my things. That night, at midnight, I took a flight to another place, to the secret research base of the National Space Administration. Before leaving, I sent a text message to everyone. "I am Yi Han, and I voluntarily sever all ties with the Yi family and will never contact them again." Not long after I sent it out, I was about to turn off my phone, but suddenly I received a reply. Yeguda N sent me a private message. "Brother, my parents know you are leaving, and they have something to say to you." He then sent a video, and I clicked it and found that it was taken by Yeguda N with his mobile phone. Dad sat on the sofa and watched TV with Mom, and they hugged Yeguda N's dog. Yeguda N said in the background, "Mom and Dad, my brother said he's leaving this family forever. What do you think?" Dad laughed disapprovingly. "That's great. No one will ever bother us. I am always annoyed when I see him." My mom looked at him with some resentment but didn't refute. It's good to let him go out and suffer a little so that he can understand how happy he is at home and how ignorant he is. Zhu Mingzhu came out of the kitchen with fruit and saw Yi Guda and holding up his phone. She smiled and leaned in front of the camera with a beautiful smile on her face that she had never smiled at me before. "Baby, what are you filming? Do I look good today?" The video ends here. Yi Guda An sent a second text. "See, no one in this family cares about you. Be smart and get out as soon as possible. Don't ever think of coveting my position." The viciousness in his words almost overflowed the screen. I didn't reply after reading it, but just pulled out the I am card and flushed it into the toilet with the water. After arriving at the research base by flight, I and other colleagues began to work without paying attention to what was happening outside. All our communication tools were taken away, and we were not allowed to go out on weekdays. But I was more comfortable because there were no people who were always bothering me, and life was easy. When my colleagues were bored at night, they complained to me that they missed their families. I couldn't empathize with them, but just silently planned how to live after the research was over. In my future, my parents in Yeguda N would not exist. In the first week after I left, no one from the Yi family came to see me. Mom, Dad, and their adopted son were busy living a happy family life. They took Su Mingzhu to take the latest family photo. Mom was wearing a Qiangzam. Dad was wearing a Chinese Tang suit. Yeguda N and Zhu Mingzhu stood behind them, as if they were a harmonious family. Even Yeguda N's pet dog was in the photo, but I didn't appear in the photo. Mom, who rarely posts on WeChat Moments, posted this family photo for the first time with the caption, "It's happiness to have you by my side in this life." Hundreds of likes from relatives and friends, smiling from ear to ear, completely immersed in happiness. However, I, who have always been supportive, did not like this WeChat Moments post immediately this time, as quiet as a dead person. After waiting for 3 days, her smile finally faded slowly, and she turned off her phone with some doubts, muttering, "Unfilial son, Mom rarely posts on WeChat Moments," but she didn't even come to show her concern. She hesitated for a moment and called my number, but no one answered after a few rings. She frowned and called a few more times, but the result was the same. Mom took the phone and ran to Dad, saying to him, "Why don't we contact Shiha Han? He has been away from home for so many days, and there is no news at all. Even the phone can't be reached. What if something happens?" Dad snorted coldly and said disapprovingly, "Where can he go? Apart from here, no other place is home. At most, he will be in a bad mood. When he can't live outside, he will come back in disgrace." Mom wanted to say something, but Yeguda N said worriedly, "Mom and Dad, don't worry about your health. Brother will definitely not be in danger. He may just mind that you defended me on my birthday last time." After that day, he often yelled that he wanted to run away from home to protest to you. When Mom heard this, her temper came up. "What? So he wants to threaten us?" I was worried about him for a while, but it was all in vain. I will ask the housekeeper to change the locks at home now so that he can't even open the door when he comes back. She chose to believe Yeguda N without any doubt, defining my departure as a temper. A smile flashed across Yeguda N's face, but it soon turned into a sad expression. When my mother saw it, she immediately asked, "Yeguda N, what's wrong with you? Are you unhappy?" Mom and Dad, my brother is gone, so what about the marriage he arranged? I really love Mingzhu, and Mingzhu also wants to be with me forever. But I think she still minds the marriage arranged for her by her grandfather when he was alive, and she has always kept a distance from me for this reason. When Zhou Yingzhu's grandfather was alive, the marriage partner arranged for her was me. After I went missing because there was no definite news of my death, the marriage was not canceled. After returning home, no one mentioned it tacitly because anyone with a discerning eye could see the ambiguity between Yi Guda and Zhu Mingzhu. My dad slammed the table after hearing this and said, I'll make the decision on this matter. Yihan and Mingzhu's marriage is canceled. You will hold your engagement next week. I'll make it a grand event for you so that everyone in the circle will know what a bullshit Yihan is. You are our most cherished son. Yi Gudan got the answer he wanted, but still pretended to be worried and didn't give up. What if my brother doesn't agree? After all, when he saw Mingzhu and Dai together before, he would come forward and separate us, very unhappy. This made my dad even angrier. He immediately called his assistant and said, contact Yihan immediately and ask him to come back. I want him to attend Guda and Mingzhu's engagement party and personally send his blessing. After that, my dad got busy and started to personally handle the engagement of the two. My assistant, who was ordered to contact me, called for 3 days, but all he got was a busy tone again and again. Even if he checked my whereabouts, he only got the record of my last flight transfer. I seemed to have disappeared. The trajectory of my life came to an abrupt end on the day I left home. The assistant could only report to my dad with sweat on his forehead, Mr. Yihan seems to have disappeared. I can't contact him. My dad seemed not to understand and repeated, what? The assistant repeated, I tried every possible way and searched all the places he might go, but I didn't find Yihan. My dad frowned and seemed to realize that something was wrong. He was silent for a long time, but finally slammed the table and cursed, this unfilial son, ungrateful wolf. Knowing that his brother was going to get engaged, he deliberately hid so that no one could find him. My Yi family raised such a son in vain. How much did I spend to raise him? He wanted to continue to curse and vent his resentment, but he suddenly stopped here. Dad suddenly realized that he seemed to have never spent anything on me, whether it was money or time or even attention. He gave everything he could to Yi Guda, but ignored me, his biological son. In the few years in the Yi family, I was in a corner that no one paid attention to, struggling to survive in the cracks. So for a moment, I couldn't help but be speechless. Seeing this, the assistant immediately said, Mister, why don't you give him some money? Maybe he will feel better after seeing the money and come back on his own. Dad thought for a moment, waved his hand and said, give him 500,000 yuan. The assistant hesitated and said, Mr. Yi, you gave too much. Yihan's life is usually tight, and 10,000 or 20,000 yuan is enough for him. This sentence made Dad stun for a moment, and he asked, what do you mean? You don't give him pocket money on weekdays? After getting a negative answer from the assistant, his brows knitted. Yi Guda's pocket money was always given by the assistant on time, so Dad naturally thought that I would receive it too, and he never worried about these things. How does he live without money on the salary of studying for a doctorate and some scholarships? Dad was completely silent after hearing this, and he waved his hand to signal the secretary to go out. After returning home from the company that night, the family sat at the dinner table to eat. Yaguda made wontons again to show his cooking skills. When he served them on the table, he mentioned again, intentionally or unintentionally, the last time I made wontons, it was for my brother, but he slapped me to the ground. My hand was wrapped in thick gauze and it hasn't healed yet. My father, who always defended Yaguda, rarely defended me, saying, your brother may not have done it on purpose. He may have just bumped into me by accident. Yi Guda was stunned and showed a sad expression. Do you mean I did it on purpose? Seeing that he was unhappy, my father immediately changed his words. Of course not. Dad always believes in you. Unconsciously, the atmosphere at the dinner table changed subtly. Yi Guda asked casually, have you found your brother's whereabouts? After getting a negative answer from my father, my mother couldn't sit still. She pulled my father's arm and asked hesitantly, "Why don't we go to Xiaohan School to ask, in case his classmates know where he went?" This time my father didn't object and agreed. The next day, they found the school where I was studying for my doctorate and knocked on the door of my supervisor's office. As soon as they entered, my father couldn't wait to ask the tutor, "Where did Yihan go?" The tutor didn't expect them to come. He looked up from the paper in front of the computer and answered, "I don't know." Mom was a little anxious. "Impossible. You are Johan's tutor. How could you not know? Isn't he your student?" Yuguda and also came, but he was bored sitting on the sofa in the office playing with his mobile phone. He heard the conversation and suddenly interrupted. "Brother, you can't escape at the last minute because you can't graduate. I have seen students threaten tutors by playing missing." The tutor shook his head and immediately denied. "Yihan's grades and scientific research ability have always been very good. If he can't graduate, then no one can graduate. Then why did he disappear for no reason? Isn't he still in school?" The tutor finally looked at him speechless. "Lie. Student Yihan has already obtained a doctorate degree in advance. Aren't you his family? Why do you know this? As for where he will go after graduation, that is his freedom. If he didn't tell you, I would have no way of knowing." My parents were speechless. Yi Guda and twisted the button on his sleeve fiercely, and I don't know what he was thinking. After returning home, my parents began to use their connections to look for me all over the country. They found an excuse saying that they wanted to take me home to worship the ancestors, because since I was brought home, I had not had time to recognize my ancestors. Yiguda was unhappy and followed my parents, pestering them, saying, "I am also your son. I can go home to worship the ancestors on behalf of my brother. As long as I worship the ancestors, I will become a member of the Yi family and can take over the family business." To this day, the only asset in Yi Guda's hands is a technology company founded by his father. Most of the assets of the Yi family have not yet been in his name, so he was a little anxious when he heard it. But my father looked straight at him, sizing him up for a while, and suddenly said, "I haven't abdicated yet, and you are already calculating the family property?" Even though Iguda immediately waved his hand to deny it, this incident still planted a seed of doubt in my father's heart. My parents finally remembered a good thing about me at this time. At least after being taken back to the Yi family, I have never coveted their money and assets, and never asked for anything. Iguda was treated coldly, so he became smarter and no longer dared to stand by Anwa. He offered to help find me. He left home early every day and came back very late. His mother was moved by this. She thought that maybe the previous calculation was an illusion and Guda was still a good boy. But when she went to the company to deliver lunch to Iguda, she accidentally discovered the truth. Iguda opened the office door and chatted with his good brother carelessly. "Do my parents still think that Yihan didn't come back on purpose? It's so funny. They believe everything I say. They never thought that their son was hit and sent to the hospital. You didn't hit him lightly at that time. It should have been more serious, causing a fracture or something so that he couldn't get out of bed for 3 months. It's all Johan's fault. He always looks so arrogant and looks down on people, but he can't let go of his parents. I can only use some small tricks to provoke their relationship." My mother listened pale-eyed as Iguda told her in a sarcastic tone about the various methods he used to frame me in the past. Finally, she couldn't help but push the door open and smash the lunchbox in her hand on it. She pointed at Iguda, who was running away with his head in his hands, and said in the most ruthless tone, "Iguda, you actually harmed my son. Has your conscience been eaten by a dog?" Iguda never thought that the matter would be exposed like this. He was immediately frightened and his face turned pale. "Mom, I didn't mean to harm my brother. I just don't feel safe. Please forgive me this time. I will get along well with my brother in the future and never trip him up again." Mom looked at him with disgust and directly refused coldly. "When your brother came back, you begged us like this. I won't be fooled by the same trick a second time." He told Dad everything. Dad was also shocked. He was so angry that he almost couldn't breathe. No matter how Iguda begged for mercy, they didn't show any mercy and drove him out of the house. Mom had all of Iguda's things thrown out of the door and piled them up like garbage. All the luxury goods that he had bought with the family's money over the years were confiscated without missing a single one. Yuguda was reluctant to let go of his expensive watch and refused to let go. These things are mine too. Why don't you give them to me? Mom sneered. Who said they are yours? If you didn't exist, these things should have belonged to your brother. You clearly said that I am your biological son and you would buy me whatever I want. I have treated you as my family. You drove me away. Where should I go? Mom, let me live here, even if it's the smallest room. I will be obedient in the future. Yeguda cried and made the most distressing expression in the past. But Mom was unmoved. As for your technology company, we will also withdraw all our investment and will no longer support it in the future, and don't even think about marriage. After that, she slammed the door and let him bang and shout outside the door without even looking at him. When she went to the villa, she suddenly changed direction and walked towards where I used to live. Looking at the poor conditions in the room, which was almost as dark and damp as the servants' room, her tears suddenly fell. Xiaohan, how can my child live so badly? It's because Mom and Dad didn't treat you well. Today, she seems to have just begun to regret the harsh treatment she had given me over the years. One thing after another came to her mind, making her cry more fiercely. Mom and Dad have known that they were wrong and will do our best to make it up to you. But where did you go? Why did you leave without saying a word? Please send us a message to let us know that you are still alive. The small room was empty, and there was no trace of my existence. She cried on my bed, touching the only sheet that had my scent, and she couldn't stop crying. Unfortunately, just like when I was lost as a child and there was no news, I disappeared completely now, and they couldn't find me no matter how hard they looked. It was already 5 years later when my closed research was over. I took my luggage and got on the plane, flew to a new city to live and engage in new scientific research. I no longer longed for the company of my relatives as before, but instead felt that being alone like now was also good. By chance, I contacted my doctoral supervisor who told me, your parents have been looking for you for all these years, and they look really sad. Now that you are back, do you want to go see them? I thought about it and still refused. I don't want to have any contact with them anymore. Please don't tell anyone about me. The supervisor knew my family situation and knew that I could hardly afford to eat during those years of studying. At that time, he paid for my tuition out of his own pocket so that I could support my studies with difficulty. The supervisor agreed without hesitation. Okay, I will keep it a secret for you. Remember to take time to come back and see. Your fellow students miss you very much. I nodded and agreed without thinking. After all, I miss them too. But when I returned to the city where I was studying for my doctorate, I was stopped by my parents, who came as soon as I got off the plane. They didn't know where they got my flight information from, and they blocked me at the airport. My mother looked at me in disbelief, as if to confirm that I was still alive. She excitedly came forward and hugged me, tears streaming down her face. Son, my son, it's so good that you can come back. Where have you been all these years? Mom and Dad have been looking for you. I was speechless at her behavior, but my heart was calm. I just pushed my mother away and had no intention of cooperating with their touching recognition. Am I your son now? When you drove me away, you were not soft-hearted at all. When my father heard this, he opened his mouth with some difficulty and actually apologized to me. I'm sorry, Xiaohan. We didn't know what Yiguda did to you at the time, and we trusted him too much, which led to that result. Dad knows that you have resentment in your heart, but give us a chance to make it up to you, okay? As long as you want, Dad will buy you anything. In the future, the family company will be yours, and the money will be yours. I shook my head. I'm not interested in inheriting the company. I only like scientific research that you think is hopeless. I'd better not embarrass you. After that, I picked up my luggage and prepared to leave. Dad said anxiously, we support you in doing scientific research. We will invest as much money as you need. I waved his hand away. No, don't stop me. I want to leave. At this moment, a man suddenly jumped out from the corner and knelt in front of me. I looked closely and found that it was Yiguda whom I hadn't seen for a long time. He looked haggard and no longer as glorious as before. His clothes were yellow and old, and he looked like he was not doing well. Mom wanted to drive him away, but Yiguda stubbornly refused to leave and even began to count out to me. Brother, I apologize to you for what I did before. Please forgive me, okay? My parents drove me out of the house because of you. Now I have nowhere to go. If you don't forgive me, I can only kneel here and not get up until I die. I pulled the corner of my mouth. Yeguda N is still as hypocritical as ever. Why can't you live without the Yi family? You have hands and feet. Why can't you find a job to support yourself? You have to come here to act pitiful. You just want to save the country in a roundabout way. I gained the recognition of my parents through me, and you don't have the sincerity to apologize at all. Yeguda N's face turned pale in an instant. He didn't expect that I would expose him directly. He opened his mouth but said nothing. I shook off the three people, walked out of the airport, took a taxi to the school. Dad and Mom did not give up. They drove behind me. Seeing me enter the school to reunite with my brothers and sisters, they hurried to catch up. Unfortunately, the people at the school gate, the security guard, stopped them outside. Seeing that I turned a deaf ear to their calls, the two could only wait outside. Even though this winter is very cold and the wind is biting, I will not be soft-hearted because there will never be a winter colder than the year I was kicked out of the house. I had a small gathering with my mentor and fellow apprentices in the restaurant. When I came out, it was already 3 or 4 in the morning. I wanted to take a taxi to the hotel to spend the night, but I caught a glimpse of the car that followed me relentlessly today. When my father saw me coming out, he put out his cigarette butt and said with a smile, "Have you finished eating? Come home with your parents tonight. We will vacate the best room in the villa for you." My mother also took a scarf and wrapped it around me, distressed like, "Why are you wearing so little? Don't catch a cold. This is knitted by your mother for you. Take it with you." I declined her kindness and said to the two of them directly, "Don't follow me anymore. I won't come back to you. You can find Yeguda N as your son." Hearing this, my parents turned pale and stood there unable to move. I returned to my city the next day, but their entanglement with me did not end there. Wherever I went, they came eagerly and even launched a monetary offensive against me. My mother bought me a villa in the city center of this city. Regardless of whether I wanted it or not, she stuffed the house deed in my hand and said, "Good son, keep it. This is a token of my mother's love." My father bought me 5 luxury cars and parked them directly in front of my unit. "Son, I'm sorry. You keep these cars and drive them every day." And because Yeguda N was too difficult to deal with, they sent him directly to a mental hospital, and I don't know how long he would be locked up. I heard that after being locked up, he had to receive electric shock therapy every day and had a miserable life. After trying to get rid of them to no avail, I didn't want to struggle anymore and simply gave up. Days passed, and I met a nice girl and decided to start a family. Just a few days before my wedding, Zhu Mingzhu got the news and ran to me with red eyes and asked me, "Yahan, don't you want me anymore? Yeguda N and I canceled our engagement, and I have been waiting for you ever since." "I thought you were angry because you didn't contact me, but why did you get married?" I replied. "I love my current girlfriend very much, and it's impossible for me to be with you. You don't have to care about our engagement. After all, you didn't care when you were with Yeguda N before." Then I got up and left. Zhu Mingzhu's face turned pale, and she didn't move for a long time. Since then, she seemed to have disappeared and never came to see me again. On the wedding day, I didn't invite my parents. They wanted to come but didn't dare to, so they could only watch secretly from one side of the wedding scene. After the process was completed, the mother suddenly pulled the bride aside. She stuffed a big red envelope into her and said with red eyes, "This is for you from Mom. It's for you to use after you get married. You have to live a good life with Xiaohan in the future." The bride was very confused because I claimed to be an orphan and had no parents. "Who is this?" the bride asked. I replied calmly, "I don't know. Maybe someone's old man went the wrong way." Then he stuffed the red envelope back into the mother's hand and left with the bride. 2 years later, my wife became pregnant and gave birth, and we welcomed our first child. My wife pushed the stroller and took the child downstairs for a walk in the sun. But one day, she suddenly hurried home and said to me with some fear, "Yahan, there seems to be a pervert in the community. He follows me and the child all day long. Every time we go down for a walk, they keep muttering, 'It's the child's grandparents,' holding their granddaughter, and so on. They also forced something on me, and I saw it was a longevity lock. My wife handed me the longevity lock. and I saw it was made of gold, and it was very big. I didn't panic. I calmly picked up the teacup on the table and took a sip. Don't be afraid, I'll help you solve it. I turned around and went downstairs. Sure enough, I saw the two old couples of the Yi family squatting in the garden. Seeing me coming, they were excited and scared, because I had been avoiding them for many years. I stood where I was with a cold tone. Even if you give me more, it's useless. I won't accept you. Mom waved her hands quickly. It's okay, as long as you are willing to see us. We are already very satisfied and will not ask for anything else. Dad also explained anxiously, son, we only hope that you live a good life. It costs a lot of money to raise a child. Dad will put another 10 million in your account and you can spend it as you like. I rubbed my temples helplessly. You are so old. Isn't it good to live at home in your old age? You have to follow me everywhere. Just give up early. The two said in unison, impossible. We will follow you until you forgive us. Oh my God, is this the end?